So I've made the nitwit decision to film outside on my balcony. Hello, new outdoors. If you're new to my channel, my name is Leah and I make book content. And throughout this video, you're going to hear trains going past because I literally live next to a train station. But it's so hot right now. It was also sunnier earlier, but of course Manchester only sticks to a slightly muggy weather. So we're here, we've got some water to stay hydrated, go to shop, buy some donuts. And despite the fact that last week's video was something that I should have done 2 months ago, this one is very much in time, in season, on brand. We're going to talk about women in translation. August is Women in Translation Month, so it gives us a chance to focus on translated fiction, which, if you don't know, is one of my favourite genres of fiction. I'm going to wait for that tram to go past. Made a few mistakes, I regret them right now. Should I do the entire video like this? Hello, friends. So we're going to look at some translated fiction I have read and some that I am looking forward to reading, because this isn't just about recommendations for you, this is me holding myself accountable for reading lists. So we're going to start off in Europe. We're going to look at a German book translated to English. This is An Exclusive Love, a memoir by Johanna Adorjan, translated by Anthea Bell. But this one was really interesting because it has two timelines. One is the timeline imagined by Johanna Adorjan of her grandparents' last day. Her grandparents were survivors of the Holocaust and they committed suicide together one random sunny evening. So half of the book is her imagining of how their day went, what went on, who they interacted with and whatnot. And then the other half is her personal recollection of trying to learn more about their life, learn more about the impact of the Holocaust and what it had on her family. It's really interesting to have those two narratives going on. It's a pretty short book. It covers a lot. She interviews some of her family friends and people that knew her grandparents to try and, unpack a little bit more, which also I think is very interesting because I don't know about you, I don't know oodles about my grandparents, but one time I sat down with my great-grandma and we had a conversation about how she came to be a reverend, and just that alone was so interesting and inspiring and kind of makes... Sometimes I feel like family members aren't really two-dimensional to a lot of us. You're like, this is my mum, this is my dad. I don't know what they do outside of being my parents. I don't know the lives they led before they birthed me. So it was an interesting read to see how she built this wider image of two people that she loved a lot and cared about a lot. And then for a book that it's not so much I need to read as I need to finish reading because it's taken me so long and I don't really know why. I've got a proper train going past now. That's the train I get when I go back to Scarborough. Hello! I'm going to get the name wrong, so I'm going to apologise in advance. Ludmila Petrushevskaya. Sorry. There once was a girl who seduced her sister's husband and he hanged himself. Love stories. So this is a series of short stories. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. So this covers 4 different types of love. There's a section dedicated to stories about maternal love. There's a section dedicated to new love and fleeting flings and that kind of love. I personally just struggle to sit down and read short stories all in one go. So that's why this has taken me over a year, but it's really good. And I have another one of Ludmila's books on my shelf, the one that's classed as horror stories or scary stories. So at some point, need to finish this. This was translated by whom? Anna Summers. So women in translation, women doing the translating and being translated. That's what we like to see. Next, we're going to Korean fiction, and the book I have read that I would recommend to you all is Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Cho Nam-ju. This one is cracking, and it actually did quite a deal, created quite some waves in South Korea, where it is based, where the author is from. If you ever look up Red Velvet, who are a K-pop group, one of the members of that was seen reading this book and had a lot of male fans furious that she was becoming so outwardly feminist. This book goes through the life of Kim Ji-young and how feminism failed, I guess, how the roles of women are so harshly viewed in each stage of her life, and it's really interesting. The last chapter of this book was so clever in the way it kind of rounded everything up, and again, it's quite a short one. I think it's really good. It was translated by Jamie Chang. 10 out of 10. Everyone give it a read. It's good to learn about feminism from other parts of the world, you know? Kind of, it's just one of those, like, you may read it and be like, oh, I can't relate to this, but then you remember you're not meant to relate to every story you read. You're not going to relate to every character, but sometimes you just need to learn about them, you know? And then if we go on to a Korean author that I have not read, that I need to, I have Han Kang, and here I have The Vegetarian. First book I picked up by Han Kang was Human Acts, and while it was very well written, I think my lack of knowledge of any South Korean history at the time made it a little bit inaccessible, so I would like to go back to it at some point. I just need to, you know, have any sort of background context before I try that one again. But this one was very highly regarded. It won the International Man Booker Prize in 2015, 2016 I think it was, and it was translated by Deborah Smith. Once again, we love it. We love female translators translating female voices, because why would you not do that? I honestly don't know what this is about at all. Here it says a novel of sexuality and madness that deserves its great success, which is fun. A darkly beautiful modern classic about rebellion, eroticism, and the female body. One of the most extraordinary books you will ever read. Both terrifying and terrific, says Lauren Groff. That sounds fun. Cool. Okay, this might get bumped up the list. Fun. And then finally, we're going to talk about my faves, my babies, my boys, Japanese translated fiction. So for you that don't know, I am actually doing a master's in September, virtually, thanks to COVID, in Japanese studies with a focus on Japanese literature. I'm taking 2 literature units, one on modern translated fiction and then one on minority voices. So I have no idea what the reading list consists of. I'm hoping some of these books come up, because otherwise I'm just gonna have to buy a lot more books and plough through those. Not complaining, just very aware right now, I have no job. So the first Japanese woman in translation we're going to talk about is Sayaka Murata with Convenience Store Woman. I feel like everyone has heard about this book. I think I've spoken about this book before. This is another one kind of like Kim Ji-young, where you get to see how women are treated in different countries and different cultures, because a big plot line in this is the fact that Keiko, the main character, has not followed the conventional norms of entering a company, finding a husband, having a baby. All she does is work part-time at a convenience store because she doesn't really know what she wants from her life, and that means a lot of her friends, they don't judge her, but they don't respect her, you know? And also Sayaka Murata has another book that is translated this year called Earthlings. Would love to check that out. Both of them are translated by, is it Ginny? Yeah, Ginny Tapley. I really like when the same translator gets used again and again, because it kind of inspires confidence that they've done a good job at capturing the voice or that the author originally had, because that's a big thing when it comes to translating fiction. Sometimes the grammar changes and the wording changes and the phrases don't necessarily exist, so you have to find ones that align, and by doing that you run the risk of skewing the original message. So clearly Sayaka and Ginny have got like a dream team thing going on, so I really would like to check out Earthlings at some point. Another one we're going to talk about is my favourite Japanese author of all time, Hiromi Kawakami. I've spoken already on this channel about Nakano Thrift Shop and how that's probably one of my favourite books ever, if not one of my favourite Japanese translated books. I'm actually going to plug The 10 Loves of Mr. Nishino, which was translated by Alison Markin Powell. She has another book that was also translated last year, that was also translated by Miss Powell, called Parade. Again, if you've established a dream team, I enjoy that a lot. I wanna see the consistency, you know. But this one was really cool. It followed not Mr. Nishino himself, but the 10 different women that he fell in love with or that loved him throughout his life. He's a bit of a sleazebag, not gonna lie to you, but it is interesting to see how these different women viewed him, whether they ended their time together with love, with hate, with just an amalgamation of emotions. I thought it was really well done, and as I say, she has another book, Parade, that I would love to check out. But if we're going to talk about books that I desperately need to read this year that are translated fiction, we are going to talk about someone I've already said I'm really excited about. It's dystopian, it's Japanese translated. I can't see how it's going to fail me, so if it does, that will really be a kick in the teeth. We're going to talk about The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. Now, for the same International Man Booker Prize that The Vegetarian won, this book has been nominated for it. The winners have not yet been announced, so who knows if she's going to win. I hope so. I haven't read it, but I hope so. I'm really counting. You know when you just think, this is going to be one of my favourite books? If it's not, I'm going to have egg on my face. It's going to suck. This one was translated by Stephen Snyder. I have a great deal of interest in her other book, Hotel Iris, which I've heard is like Japanese 50 Shades of Grey, which is confusing to me because if you know anything about Japanese literature, Japanese society, quite conservative. And if you ever read any books that, like, if you've ever read any of Haruki Murakami, who at points has written like sex scenes and erotic scenes in books, it's very to the point. It's like, they did it, they're done, they've built emotion now. Continue. So the idea that a whole book is dedicated to that, like, I don't know, is it going to read like a shopping list? I couldn't tell you. And I know what you're thinking. Leah, in your last video, you didn't have a copy of this and you said you weren't going to buy any new books unless you went to independent bookstores. Manchester doesn't have independent bookstores. What have you done? To which I say, secret project, mind your business. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just very excited. I'm currently reading not translated at all. I'm currently reading The First Time Lauren Paling Died, and as soon as that's finished, this is the one I'm moving on to. This is the one I'm excited for. I really want it to be good, and if it's not, I'm going to have a little cry. And there you are, some women in translation you should check out this August. You're watching this in September, October, November, all of the other months. Let's not start listing them. Then you should still read them because they're still going to be good books. I just wanted to be on time for something, so this was very impromptu. Originally, I was just going to post some pictures on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go do that. But then I was like, wait, you know what's better than that? Talking about them, verbalizing why they're good. This tram can do one. I'm just going to wrap up the video. Shut up. As always, thank you so much for watching and tuning in and hanging out. If you have any other women in translation you think I should check out, please let me know because, yeah, I love translated fiction. I think it's so interesting and I love using books as a way to view worlds and societies and cultures and people that I don't normally get to. That's the joys of these things. You think the internet is broadening your horizons? Well, first there were books. Jesus Christ, I sound 100 years old. Please, as always, stay safe, stay kind, wear your bloody mask. It's been hot, I don't care if your face is sweaty. Coronavirus doesn't stop to get a tan. What are we talking about? Until next time, feel free to check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I will see you soon. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Trams and trains, please.